Sometimes you wonder what you're doing in a room. In this case, I don't wonder at all. At the beginning of tonight, people talked about Aaron as a progressive activist. I fit in with that. Gary Shapiro fits in with that. Jared Polis fits in with that. Not because we come from exactly the same party, or because we always reach the same conclusions, but because, to be honest, sticking to the man, something from my generation, resonates in everyone here tonight. The whole question of whether or not in government we trust isn't a question that's hard to answer. Our Constitution, our upbringing tells us in God we trust. Even if we're atheists, we still look and say, I'd rather trust God than my government. At least I hope that's the way we feel. Because ultimately, trusting a government is inconsistent with our founding words, we the people. Aaron understood that. He and I probably would have found ourselves at odds with lots of decisions, but never with the question of whether information was in fact a human right. Now, our copyright laws were created for the purpose of promoting useful works, not hiding them. Our government and every asset of the government belongs to the American people. Not one piece of federal land is off your ability to walk through it at pleasure unless there's a valid reason to prohibit that. That principle, I think Aaron and I would always agree on. The principle that we own our government, we own all the rights and privileges that God gave us, and ultimately, knowledge belongs to all the people of the world unless there's a really valid reason to restrict it. And I think that's the reason Jared and I, Jason Chaffetz, Zoe Lofgren, and others fought so hard against SOPA and HIPAA, SOPA in the House, because we could see that this was yet another, in this case, beginning in America, but a global effort to restrict the question of, well, who gets information, and what is there, and who is going to take responsibility for protecting copyrights. Now, I respect copyrights. I really do. But I also recognize that that promotion is hampered if we begin chiseling away at the access to information and the freedom that the internet has given us. Now, there's a generation difference, and Congressman Grayson is left, but I knew Don McLean's various songs, and I could go through some of the same ones from that American Pie album. But in my day, we didn't have an internet. When I worked in government at the end of my career in the military, we were just beginning to use what became the internet. But as a young man, when I needed to sell my thin mints so I could go to the summer camp, I would get to an apartment and I would start ringing doorbells. And I would ring as many doorbells as it took for somebody to buzz me in. Now, I don't believe in most cases one person buzzed me in knowing that I wanted to sell them thin mints. Ultimately, I got in the door and I went from door to door, asking if they would buy thin mints, and many did. I was a pretty pitiful young man. But I broke the law in a mean old way. Every time somebody goes out trolling for information on the internet, one could say they're potentially exceeding that. They're beginning to tip away at it. And yet, would we in fact have the ability to search the internet if somebody didn't search the internet and then compile it and make it available to us? And product after product, and innovation after innovation would be stifled unless we assume what Aaron assumed. That curiosity, as we said earlier, that curiosity is about you get to go anywhere, anytime, and look at anything, unless there's a valid reason to stop you. And if, in your curiosity, you go over the line, it's appropriate to be told you went over the line. It's appropriate to, in fact, receive some level of punishment prescribed under the law. But the crime and the punishment have to fit. Everyone here tonight knows that the crime and the punishment did not fit. As our committee investigates it, it's going to be to try to find out how and why. We suspect we know some of it had to do with ambition, big prosecutions, smart people being brought down. That's regrettable, because the best and the brightest in our prosecution, our U.S. attorneys, should care about disposing of small cases quickly and big cases properly. And this wasn't a big case, and we know that. Now, Congressman Laughlin, when she was here, and companion in the Senate, we are going to work out restraints on this kind of abuse in the future. And that restraint will be intended to ensure that harmless acts are treated appropriately, even if in fact they remain against the law. They have to be treated as the harmless acts. The fact I'll really just close with one thing. If everyone who ever tried to guess a combination on a safe, or a password, or looked at a diary endlessly trying to decide whether or not to open it when they saw it there, or a drawer that was half open, was brought up on charges based on the maximum value of what could have been the damages, that our jails, which are already too full with too many sad cases that need to be treated and not punished, would in fact be beyond overflowing. And so the issues that Aaron has left behind and the causes that he believed in are ones that I believe will live on in this Congress. And it is very fitting that we're here tonight, eulogizing Aaron